Moving on from the updates, there at the beginning of the year, I had started writing articles about the cross between Reiki and the real worlds, articles, posts, blurbs, and I did do some sound bites, and then I fell off. Okay. Now I had began a list, and for the sake of energy, not even time, but for the sake of energy, I'm gonna talk through a lot of these points just to get them out of my head and like into the ethers, right? So where I left off at, I was gonna do a piece about I was gonna write about art through the lens of Reiki. And the title was Art is Dead from the Lens of Reiki, right? And so I started that piece by saying art transcends time, space, culture, creed, and language. And art of any form has always been a way to express the true nature of our lived experiences. I like to think of art as a snapshot of the human psyche or perception, I think I was trying to say, or perspective, transposed into the world around us, which I feel like that might be, I should have just posted that somewhere and called it a day. The reason, the next part, the reason why I stopped that piece was because of the subjective nature of art and how everybody approaches art from a different vantage point. And there's a lot of different nuances when it comes to understanding understanding the art that you're consuming. And I always like to start with the intention behind the art. That's why even I'm not a huge rap fan, but when I do come across like a song that captures me, I'm usually captivated by the intention that was behind that piece. Sometimes it you might not even be able to resonate with the actual experience that's being presented to you, but you can understand the energy behind it, the sentiment, the feeling that the artist has when they're discussing this aspect of their existence, of their reality, of their lived experience, right? Now, we're all one. We're all one, right? We're all interconnected. So, there's a level of compassion and empathy too when consuming art. For me, I feel like art has died due to the fact that it's hard for me to connect with a lot of what's being said. And I don't think that I'm dead inside. There's a lot of things that I can empathize with the collective on, but I am someone who feels deeply. Um, and numbing has never really truly worked for me just because of my sensitive nature physically. Like a stomach ache will take me down. So with all that being said, I'm someone who, you may refer to as clairsentient, meaning I feel it in my vessel, body, bones. I feel it when somebody's being sincere, insincere. I feel it when somebody's lying. I feel it when something is genuine. I feel it when something is inauthentic. And a lot of the art today that is being presented is very inauthentic. It doesn't pull me in or give me any goose pimples. A lot of the art, and this goes for music, movies, through horror, thriller, animation in particular. I feel like there has not been one good. Toy Story 3 might have been the last like decent Pixar film or heart wrenching. Because that was a good movie. I'm not even gonna cap be like, oh, it was decent. That was a good movie. It was something that pulled me in. At the end, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Toy Story 3, spoiler alert. But at the end, when the whole squad was finna get compacted in that trash, in the trash compactor, Even saying that out loud is a very silly scenario, but it really did take me to a place. And I remember seeing it on campus in undergrad with a group of friends. And there were some other students there at the time. And we were all sent to a place watching that movie. I have not felt that level of despair since the release of that movie. It's hard even when it comes to music. The only albums or the only artists that I can listen to their album front to back, the front to back, no skips, no, oh, I'm gonna tolerate it on like the album in a loop is Krongbing. Como el mundo, I think that's or some girl, don't give me the line about the titles. They're a Latin band based out of Houston, Texas, and they do like psychedelic funk. Um, and there's no real lyrics per se, and the lyrics that they do sing are generally in English. But the feeling behind the composition of the songs, like the instruments being played, how they're being played, the arrangement, not, composition arrangement, it really does do something good. It does something good to my spirit, something that I don't mind putting aside 2 or 3 hours just to run back. It feels real. Like even their sophomore album, look, I got a computer, let me use it. Even their sophomore album, I actually went to go see them live. Con todo el mundo was their sophomore album. Mordecai, not Malachi. Mordecai was their most recent album. Con todo el mundo, I saw them perform it live in Pooler, New York, and it was one of the most like euphoric experiences. The story behind that album, they actually recorded that album in a barn. Okay, so they was on some other stuff. Laura on that bass. Again, let me just continue. So they're one of the only few artists that I really do be feeling like um puts a lot of love, time, attention, intention, and purpose. They put a lot of like, there's a word like something along the lines of, I mean, they put their soul into it. They really do. They put they heart and they soul into the things that they create, which I find very rare because a lot of people aren't creating from the space of authenticity or the need to express or the need to transmute energies um, or to work out things in their own life, because art is very therapeutic in that way where it allows you to go into the depths of your own mind and really uncover some things that were lying dormant that you may have pushed aside and didn't really pay attention to. Art has that way to bring up that gunk and smut for you so that you can kind of take a deeper look into things, right? Now, a lot of people are creating art from the space of, I want to make money, I want something. It's very transactional. It's not like, because there are some artists that it doesn't matter if they get paid $1 or $1 million for their work. They just have to do it because if not, they're going to implode, right? Some people could, and honestly, I feel like we would do better as a collective if some people kept whatever these forms of expressions are to themselves, because it doesn't really do anything to help us progress, or it doesn't really do anything to feed us or to at least hold space for us. If anything, it just keeps us in a fog and really just, in a muck. Very, very dense. It does keep the collective very dense. The art that's being produce. There is no originality, there is no thought, there is no process or intention behind why people do or why people create or why people express the way that they do. So, in that vein, that's why I believe that art is dead from the lens of Reiki. As a Reiki practitioner, we do a lot of scanning the body aura to see on ourselves. If you're a client, you only get scanned once, but for as a practitioner, there is maintenance that you have to perform on yourself as often as possible. But you scan your energetic centers to see if there's any blockages, if there's any unhealthy attachments that you might need to break or address. Um, and the attachment or the blockage that is present in art is the lack of embodiment, where people are reliant on the validation of others, reliant on certain quantifying factors that make them feel worthy or make them or boost their self-esteem. um, People aren't internally motivated, and it's like and I wrote about this too. It's like a dopamine addiction, right? So I did a little piece called "What is Energy Healing and Why Is It Important?" And I wrote a little bit about dopamine detox, right? So, and this will tie into the piece about like art being dead, right? So, under the section about dopamine detox, I said another thing you should steer away from is mindless tasks that yield instant gratification. The dopamine hits you get from quick results can become addictive. It is a high that will satisfy you temporarily, but it's not sustainable. With all addictions, you will find yourself constantly chasing that dopamine high. You begin to lose the attention span and will to work towards longer term goals. And your energetic body becomes depleted because you are not accessing sustainable energy. I think that ties up my stance on why art is dead. I don't need to elaborate on that, right? But I will give you this piece, right? I will end with this piece. Engaging in activities that require your intention for more than 30 minutes is a great way to build and maintain your energy reserves. Reading, exercising, and creating art are great ways to sustain your energy. So, creating art is supposed to be regenerative, but when it becomes extractive, where no matter how much you create, you feel like you're not getting enough in return, then you're creating one from a space of lack, and you're also creating expecting these very quick